Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Thank you so much for the support on the first video. Today we're back with a different type of video. We are ranking all the 2024 movies that I watched this past year. I watched just under 30, 29 of them to be exact. 2024 is a really good year for movies, especially like blockbuster big movies, but also some indie ones too. I definitely want to get my number up for next year, or this year. We're in 2025 now. But I don't know how good it's looking for the movies scheduled to come out. But we'll start it off. Let's get into it. Number 29, I have Werewolves. This movie was awful. It's the worst movie of the year for me that I saw. I can't say if the CGI was awful because I don't know if there was CGI. The werewolves looked like those Chuck E. Cheese animatronics and kind of moved like them too. I know it's an indie film to an extent, and they didn't have such a big budget like some of these big blockbusters did, so maybe you can excuse that weird looking werewolf CGI stuff. But there's also just some really weird plot points during the movie that were just touched on and then never explained. I mean, the whole movie is kind of framed as a year after sequel, which kind of tells you, but they don't talk about that really that much, which kind of tells you like how it's a standalone movie, just you don't really know what's going on. But yeah, 28, we have Dragon Keeper. This didn't come out in theaters, I believe. It's a kid's movie. I don't think it had a major theatrical release, so I cut a tad bit of slack. That's why it's ahead of Werewolves, because I probably had more fun watching Werewolves. When we went to Werewolves, it was opening night or opening weekend, and we were the only people in the entire theaters, and I actually had fun because it was so bad. Dragon Keeper, I watched this, straight streaming. Didn't have a good time at all. But I like dragons. Dragons are super dope to me, so I thought I would give it a watch. The poster looked okay, but these dragons are weak, dude. Like, they're not causing any damage. They're kind of small. And then the main character kid, Ping, because it's set in ancient China, she is just so annoying. So I did not enjoy watching this movie. 27. Now here we have a big movie, The Substance. This might come as a surprise to some of the cinephiles out there, because this movie has gotten rave reviews from the critics, and Demi Moore actually just won a Golden Globe for her role in this movie. But I was not a fan of this. The whole movie made me feel just uncomfortable, really. There was a ton of body horror, and the last act, that last 20 minutes or whatever, was just gross, bloody shock horror. That's all it was. Some people called it funny. It wasn't funny to me. It was nasty. I understand that the message of this movie is about how we, society, and then really the entertainment world, dismiss women, as they age in certain fields. But in terms of if I enjoyed it, I don't think the message in this case outweighed the means of me seeing all that nasty body horror. But yeah, a lot of people are going to disagree with that one. 26, we have Ultraman Rising. I saw this on Netflix. I believe it was a straight to streaming release. In theory, this movie sounded and looked cool in concept. Ultraman is a pretty dope Japanese kaiju fighting character. It's been around for a while. It's a cool design, but I was not a fan of this specific iteration of Ultraman. I thought the character who played Ultraman, Ken Sato, was not very likable, even though it was an animated film. And the plot line of just saving a baby kaiju was not it for me. And it's rare that I'm actively hoping a movie will end. But that was the case for me in this one. I was counting down the minutes. 25. The biggest disappointment of the year. Joker 2. I don't know how Todd Phillips messed up this big after following up his cult classic Joker, which was awesome. This was a fake musical. It had at best mid-plot and an exceptionally trash ending. I honestly don't understand the point of writing a sequel with an ending like that. It just added nothing to the lore of any of the characters. If you saw it, And then they wasted the character of Harley Quinn entirely. Harley Quinn's a goated comic book character. And Lady Gaga's a good actor. I loved her in A Star Is Born. That movie's really good. But her character here just sucks. 24. Another big disappointment for me personally. I know a lot of people didn't have expectations to this. Kraven the Hunter. I don't even know why I had expectations going into this, considering it was a Sony Spider-Man universe movie. I will say, despite this being a letdown of Craven's character, who's really cool in the comics as a whole, the Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 16% is way too harsh. There's still some pretty cool moments here and there, and Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I think had a great year, still did an okay job in the role. A solid performance in my book, but still the movie was very disappointing. 23, Red One. Now this was hard for me to rank because in terms of enjoyment, wasn't that low on my list. I knew what this was going into it. I found myself having a good time watching it. Maybe because it was that bad. But I can see myself rewatching this around Christmas times in maybe a year or two. My favorite moments were definitely with Krampus. Those moments were hilarious. I was laughing in the theater. But still, at the end of the day, this was kind of a typical Dwayne Johnson, comically bad blockbuster. To this day, I think The Rock has played the same character in every single film he's ever been in. John Cena clears as an actor, and of course, Dave Bautista is in a realm of his own. 22, Venom 3, The Last Dance. The Venom trilogy as a whole was just mid. I think it's Sony, you know. I think the first one was definitely the best, and I mean it's still Tom Hardy who's in every single one. He's awesome, so it's a joy to watch him on the screen. But again, though, with these lower ranked movies, there's just some unexplored plot points that I think that we never got to see that were wasted opportunity. We saw a couple clips of Null, the guy who released those xenophages into the universe or whatever, but we never got to see any of his power, and it's a shame because he looked like a crazy powerful monster, but we never really got to see him, and we won't because Sony's done. Venom's done. 21, Moana 2. This was mid. Reached nowhere near the same heights as the first one did, especially in the music department. There were no memorable songs like we had in the first one. You know, what can I say except you're welcome? There was none of that on this one. I definitely picked up once Maui came into the film, but really nothing special. And it's kind of telling that this started out as a Disney Plus TV show that was turned into a movie at the last second. 20, we have Rebel Ridge. This was a super hyped up Netflix original that to me was overhyped. It was a solid watch maybe, but I think I was just unimpressed with some of the performances, I guess. I did think it had a good message on corruption within police departments, police brutality, but other than that, it wasn't all that special to me. Had some good action. That's about it. 19, Mufasa. So we're getting, as we progress in the list, we're 10 movies in. You know, they're getting better and better in quality. We have Mufasa, The Lion King. And I'm aware that the original Lion King was a musical, but I really didn't think this needed to be, or at least they needed to make the songs better. Generally, I'm not a fan of remaking live action movies or animated movies into live action movies. I think it disrespects animation as a medium. And so I went into this a bit biased. For example, coming up, we have a remake of How to Train Your Dragon as a live action. And I think just through the animation medium, you can do so many more things that you can do in real life. So why are we remaking a movie about dragons in real life? But, you know, whatever. That's besides the point. At least Mufasa, this movie was an original story, so it wasn't a complete remake, live action remake. And I did like that in this, they actually made the lions have facial expressions, which was a problem in the Lion King remake a couple years back, live action. And then I did like that they included bits and pieces of like foreshadowing and references to the original throughout. I did hate Timon and Pumbaa in this. They were easily the most annoying part of the movie. They just kept interrupting Rafiki telling the story, like adding nothing to the plot. I really don't know why the directors, scriptwriters included that, because I've heard multiple people hold that same opinion. 18, Kung Fu Panda 4. This is another one that just didn't need to be made. Kung Fu Panda trilogy is an elite one, animated or not. And it's some of DreamWorks' best work, especially with their villains. Now this has some cool elements. Jack Black, still great as Poe. But the villain here kind of sucks, even though she is voiced by the amazing Viola Davis. But the main reason behind that is just she doesn't have the same cool backstory as the other three previous villains that made them such good villains. I would say, though, it's not a bad movie. And if I didn't have the other three Kung Fu Pandas as predecessors, maybe I would look at it differently. But unfortunately, we do. 17, we have Hitman. It's another Netflix original. I thought this was a pretty solid movie overall. We're getting to that point on the list. Like I said, these are good films we're getting here. I thought this had a pretty creative and fun plot. Glenn Powell, really good in his role, and I liked his on-screen chemistry with an actress I'd never seen before, Adria Arjona. 16, we have Trap. Now, this was a movie that I think knew it had a silly plot and kind of embraced that, but in a thriller type of way. M. Night Shyamalan didn't take himself too seriously, thankfully, and it worked out. This was a fun watch. I didn't love Josh Hartnett's performance in this, but I was pleasantly surprised with Shyamalan's daughter, Suleika, who I thought did a great job in both her acting and as well as singing for the movie. It was some really good songs. Now, 15, we have Wolves. It's a movie about two hitmen starring Brad Pitt and George Clooney. Sign me up. I don't care that there are some lulls in the movie where it gets a bit boring. Anything Brad Pitt is in, I'm basically generally automatically a fan. I thought that he and Clooney were great. There wasn't a whole else in terms of background characters or anything else going on to make it deserving of higher on the list, but it's a good watch. Apple TV. Number 14, we have Beetlejuice. Not a whole lot to say other than this was a fun watch, like the first one. I don't know exactly how it lived up to the first one. It could be better, it could be worse. I kind of have to rewatch both at the same time. I feel like, regardless, I thought that similar to the first, there were some weak spots in the movie where either a plot kind of felt a little bit rushed. They're not that long of films, but that held it back from being a truly great film. But nevertheless, it had Michael Keaton, who was just awesome in his role as Beetlejuice. 13, Monkey Man. This was a surprise to me. I went into it not knowing what to expect besides reading the description. And in Dev Patel's directorial debut, he made a really good film. It's kind of like, if you like John Wick, Equalizer, it's like an Indian version of that. It's great action, it has a great dark film, a great final scene for sure. There's a nice training montage in there too. Good watch. 12, we have The Order. Severely underrated movie for me. It just came out pretty recently when there was a lot of big blockbusters out in theaters, so I think it flew under the radar. But this was a good watch for sure. Jude Law turns in a great performance, and of course, it sounds like it's his year. Nicholas Hoult, he's been on an absolute tear recently, is really good in this too. If you like Spike Lee's Black Klansman from a couple years back with Adam Driver, I think you'll definitely really like this, even though it's a tad bit different. 11, Strange Darling. It's another indie film that I believe flew under the radar for a lot of people. If you love a twist movie, this is it for you in the year 2024, for sure. It's shot in a really cool way where you see scenes out of sequence, so you don't really know what's going on until basically the final act. This was a legit, really good watch. I was on the edge of my seat basically the entire time. Very good movie. 10, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, this is a movie that I'm conflicted about. I love the newer trilogy with Caesar, so I went into this with high hopes, and I would say that it delivered, for sure. I think Proximus is cool, but I don't think I love his character as much as other people did, especially with the whole "What a wonderful day!" But still, the visuals on this were great, and it's a cool meeting a whole new set of apes after Caesar for this upcoming trilogy that they're making, which I am excited for. Good movie. 9, Out of My Mind. I'm willing to bet that a lot of people haven't heard of this movie until now, but wow. I'm pretty sure it went straight to Disney Plus streaming, not a theatrical release. It's based on a novel, and this movie will pull on your heartstrings for sure. But at the same time, it's also a feel-good movie. It's about a girl with cerebral palsy navigating life as she's streamlined into a regular middle school class. She can't speak, so she's voiced by Jennifer Aniston, who I thought did a fantastic job. And it's just an awesome, all-around, feel-good movie. Would definitely recommend, for sure. 8, Gladiator 2. Now, talk about a spectacle. They put sharks in the Coliseum. This is my most recent watch out of all the movies on this list, so it's definitely the freshest in my mind. And I mean, this was a movie where just all the stars showed up in their roles, particularly Denzel Washington, who might be the GOAT. He might be the GOAT. He just killed it. However, there are some flaws here. I would say it's a bit too similar to the first one, which is an absolute masterclass, but not in the best type of way, because the first one is just that good. Nevertheless, very enjoyable blockbuster watch. 7, we have Conclave. Now, this was an excellent performance from Ralph Fiennes, Lord Voldemort himself, who plays a cardinal in charge of electing a new pope in the Catholic Church. And it's definitely a slow build, so you're going to want to watch the entire film. It really picks up as the film progresses. I think Fiennes should for sure get some nominations for his performance in this. And I also do think it's a great directorial performance from Edward Berger. I really like the way the visuals and just the way Conclave was shot. 6. Now this, once we get to, I would say maybe 6 and down, some of the order here I struggled to make. Even Conclave. Conclave could have been higher up. 6, we have Furiosa. In the world of sequels and prequels and remakes, all that stuff, this is how you do it right here. I don't think that this is a stretch to say that it's better, or at least just as good as Fury Road. Besides Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy, who turned in great performances, I was super impressed with Tom Burke in his role as Praetorian Jack. I'd never seen any of his other works, but I was definitely a fan after this. I've seen some people have it as their movie of the year. I cannot understand why it didn't do well in the box office. But so 5, we have Nosferatu, the recent release on Christmas Day. One of, in my opinion, if not the most well-made movie of the year. I went to go see this with my 2 younger cousins and my little brother. 3 of us loved it. 1 not so much, but after going over it on the car ride back, we finally got my cousin, who wasn't a fan, to at least admit that it was a very well-made movie. The cinematography and the visuals are awesome. All the leads are awesome. And in my opinion, it really picks up when Willem Dafoe's character comes in, and it gets really good after that. Great watch. 4, Twisters. Now, this may be a little too high on my list. I'll admit it. Probably in a year or 2, I'll look back and be like, what was I thinking? But man, this was a fun watch. Glenn Powell, I think he's one of the best actors in the world. Let's give him his credit. I sooner rather than later, I'd like to see some more diversity in the roles that he chooses. But this was just a fun watch all the way. The soundtrack was great. Visuals were great. Performance was great. I mean, what else can you ask for? It was very entertaining. 3, Inside Out 2. The best animated movie of the year for me. I don't know why this is flying under the radar with some critics and the awards. I think this is the perfect sequel to Inside Out 9 years later. And it's kind of, all the people who were kids when Inside Out came out in 2016, 15, I've grown up now and I've gone through those teenage years that Inside Out 2 covers. And I think that's why it's funny, but it's also relatable and it's very well written. And I think even though it's marketed as a kids movie, a lot of, newer adults, young adults enjoyed it. Because it's way more mature than just a kids movie. I think everyone can relate to it and enjoy it. I left the theater thinking, was just very, very impressed. Number 2, Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care people complaining about the fan service, calling it a soulless money grab. I don't care. This was the most fun film I saw all year. In theaters, it was straight up hilarious. I was laughing in the theaters. The cameos from all these different characters were awesome. It was probably one of, to be honest, the best multiverse movies that Marvel has done. I think it succeeded in that, as a lot of Marvel films have failed in the multiverse realm lately. And it has some of the best, funniest lines in it. I can't say it on camera. And it also had, I mean, it had Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. I mean, what more can you ask for? Enough said. Now here, we are at my number one movie, Dune 2. Can't say enough about this movie. Dune might turn out to be the most star-studded franchise ever. I mean, the amount of A-listers in the first two movies alone, and then we have Dune Messiah coming out next year, which I cannot wait for. This is going to be an awesome trilogy. The star of the show is, of course, Timothée Chalamet. I mean, this movie really put me on the Timmy hype train. He's got the juice. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Anything he's in is a hit. His discography at 28 years old, I think, is just, it's really very impressive. I think he's without a doubt the male actor face of this generation in terms of quality of his discography. And I don't think there's really a competitor. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. You know, in the 90s, 2000s, you had Leo, Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, to name a few, all coming up at the same time, these big, giant movie stars. And I don't think there's anyone that touches Timmy right now. He's got a long way to go to live up to those names, but I think he's on the right track. And then, of course, his female counterpart, Zendaya, as Chani. Their on-screen chemistry is so good. And then a handful of other these amazing actors turning in great performances. I could talk about it all day. One final note is that the cinematography in this is the best of the year. And it's not even close. I called Gladiator 2 a spectacle, but this is a spectacle. Denis Villeneuve killed it, and I really cannot wait for 2026. Like, I'm actually mad that I have to wait so long. I don't care if you need to take your time to make a good movie. I need to see this now. But yeah, there were a few movies that I didn't get to watch, unfortunately. I was in a rush at the beginning of the year. I mean, that at the end of this year to get them all in because I knew I wanted to make this video. You know, if I missed any, please let me know down in the comments which ones those were. Because I know there's a lot more than just 29 movies that came out this year. But yeah, this was my 2024 movie ranking. I enjoyed watching not all these movies, but I enjoyed watching the movies and making this video for you guys. And if you liked it, please like the video. Leave a comment down below. I know people are going to disagree with this. And please subscribe if you like the videos. And I will see y'all on the next video. Peace.
I just wanna ball, mama, I just want it all. I don't care about the law.